What is best in life? To crush your enemies, see them driven before you, and to hear the lamentation of their women.
All right. What is it? Tuesday night? So it's the Tuesday night Radio Baloney Live. I am your host, Richie Baloney. What was I going to say? I can't remember. I guess that's it. The show's over. Oh, yeah. We're streaming on Rumble. We're streaming on YouTube. We're streaming on X. We're streaming on Locals. All of those, all at the same time. It's a wonderful thing. Looks like we got a few people in here already. We got Izzy in here, Spambot, Nevada, Rosie. How you guys doing? Good to see ya. Who got the first like? Spambot got the first like. Good work, Spambot. That's double good karma. For those who don't know, when you subscribe to the channel or you like the stream, you get free good karma. But guess what? If you're the first like, that's double good karma. Double. And that's if you get it on YouTube, on X, on Locals, on Rumble. If you get the first like on all of those, that's 8 times. 8 good karmas for you instead of just 4. It's an amazing thing. It's a beautiful thing. All right. All right. Rosie says, call you the Karma King. I guess that Spambot is the Karma King. Izzy got like number 2. Good to see Izzy. And boom, you get 1.5 good karmas. 1.5 for being second. Nice. Spambot got first like on X as well. So that's 4 good karmas for Spambot. I mean, this guy's on top of it. Nevada says, Nevada thinks he got the third like. You know what? That's 1.25 good karmas for you, my friend. All right. And Rosie, it looks like maybe got the next one. So how about 1.1? I'm afraid it does have to go down as we go down the list, but thank you for liking, Rosie. Thank you so much. All right. Okay, well, I guess that's it. What's going on here? And what else we got? Let's see. Not streaming on Odyssey. I'd have to do extra stuff for that. I'm only going to stream to things where I can just like press a button and it just does it. Otherwise, I'm not doing it. Mal says Karma King. Let's see. Karma King, take it. So that's, yes. Okay, so that's Spambot. All right. Better than Karma Chameleon. Better than Karma Chameleon. Karma. Yeah, I remember my granddad liked that. I thought it was weird. It was a long time ago now. Let's see. Let's see. As usual, the only like on Locals so far. I don't understand Locals. I mean, I stream to it because it's connected to Rumble. I don't understand it though. It just kind of is there, and I know the streams go there, but I don't know what to. I try and go on the website and look, and I don't understand it. But it's still going to go there anyway. Rosie says, interesting, that girl on the left gets so scared her hair turns green. Do you know what? I had never noticed that, but I'm trying to look at her hair, but for some reason I can't. I don't know. I'm just going to have to take your word for it. Noada says there's a girl on the left. All right, let's go through the menu. So we'll go through the menu really quickly, see what we're going to talk about tonight. We'll get back to the chat if there's much in there, and then we will get into these stories in depth. So Democrats are gaining ground with one key demographic, the mentally ill. That's just whatever leftist party anywhere in the world. This is Matt Walsh. We'll take a look at this. And, you know, we can back it up. There's studies on this stuff. There's studies on it. You know, all the crazy stuff they believe. It's going to drive you nuts. EU is dystopian. Ulrich Guerreau received an unsettling phone call in early August 2022. An old friend from her past, someone closely tied to intelligence circles, whom she hadn't seen for nearly 2 decades, urgently invited her to coffee. He told her she needs to be very careful. Why? Because she's like a political scientist, a well-known one in Europe, gets invited on TV to talk all the time. And she was a dissenter on the Ukraine war. She wrote a book about it, how it's more complicated, that's being made out by NATO and all of the European countries. And yeah, they set out to destroy her. So this is very interesting. This is 12 minutes long. We're just going to watch about half of it from about 6 minutes in. And it just backs up everything that we've been saying about the EU. Of course, NATO is also the United States. That's the big player, obviously, in NATO, but clearly, clearly in Europe, it's becoming a Orwellian dystopian state, a censorship state, and there is one line that you must follow, and if you don't, you're in trouble. So we shall see that, and maybe we'll go through some of the EU's greatest hits. Gender. So we're going to hear somebody talking about why they don't use preferred pronouns. I think this is very interesting. I mean, personally, I think just anything that's not true, you probably shouldn't go with. But in any case, we're going to talk about Canada a little bit here. Of course, there's actually quite a bit. We're going to get into it. Some more Canada. Let's see. We've got okay, Canada stuff. We got probably a good block of half an hour or so of Canadian stuff tonight. We got some memes, of course, because we like memes. We're going to take a little look at this Boulder shooter. And Trump has apparently the White House is posting this from the White House X account that 6 one-way tickets for Mohammed's wife and kids. Final boarding call coming soon. You know, I just think you have to start doing stuff like this. Like, just the whole family has to go. Like, obviously, what they've been doing has not been a deterrent to people doing insane shit. Then we have the last tab, and there's just some dingbats in here. There's some crazy stuff. It's all mixed up. You got some crazy animals. You got a lady who's 54, and she looks pretty good, and I guess there's some controversy whether she should be doing that at 54. I don't know. I'm okay with it. I'm on board. Let's see. We got some comedy, some Danny Polshchuk here. He's quite funny, and a bunch of random stuff. So we should get to all of that. Anything else in the chat before we get started? Let's see. JJ Nevada is telling us that he's eating a Montreal-style sirloin steak, baked potato with mac and cheese. Well, that sounds very nice. I had pizza. It had pepperoni, it had onion, and it had green pepper. So now you all know. Nevada says it's supper time here. Well, that does sound delicious. That's better than what I had. All right, I guess that's it. You guys aren't too chatty tonight. Should we just go? Should we just do this? All right. From the Daily Wire, Democrats are gaining ground with one key demographic, the mentally ill. Of course, this is by Matt Walsh. It's the natural byproduct of a political party that now caters almost exclusively to people with serious mental health conditions. You know, there's a lot of truth in this, it turns out. In just the last 6 months, a socialist torched the governor's mansion in Pennsylvania. A trust fund psycho stalked a healthcare CEO and then shot him in the back. I mean, that's now a hero. He's like Robin Hood to the left now. An illegal alien from Egypt named Mohammed threw Molotov cocktails at a group of Jewish demonstrators. Mobs of visibly unhealthy Antifa activists attacked a Christian concert in Seattle. Yes, we covered that. So we don't need to even keep going on. I mean, the last 7 mass shooters have all been they, thems. So clearly something is happening. And this is actually backed up by science, not the science, but science. Oh, ranch juice. Beautiful ranch juice. So I made a video about this when it came out. This came out in 2023. This has been known for a while. Young liberal women are statistically the unhappiest and most mentally ill demographic in America. Much data has shown that young women who identify as liberal are much less happy and fulfilled than their more conservative counterparts. There are many factors that could contribute to this divide. The thing is, if you wanted to create a an ideology and a culture explicitly to make people miserable, especially women, you really couldn't do any better than the modern left. And that's across borders, because it's all the same thing. Democrats are the same as the liberals in Canada, is the same as, Labor in the UK. They're just all the same. Let's see. For many liberals, political activism is an entire personality that has made them hyper aware and even pessimistic about our society. Even pessimistic, they say. I think that's putting it lightly. Data has shown that liberal people are less likely to prioritize activities that bring them personal fulfillment, such as a faith community, marriage, and family. Only 37% of liberals are married, while 56% of conservatives are married. Marriage has long been associated with better health, increased happiness, and even longer life expectancy. The thing is that kind of on a fundamental level, it's our whole reason to exist is to pair off and have children and extend our line into the future. Like, at the most fundamental level, I mean, that's kind of why we're here, right? We're sexually reproducing species, sexually dimorphic. We're not exactly the same, but we're two halves of a whole. It's kind of like it would make sense, wouldn't it? Like trying to remove that or trick people into getting away from that, to avoiding that or thinking it's bad in some way. Like, that's the sort of thing you'd do if you hated them, right? If you weren't concerned about their well-being, if you're just concerned about, say, ideology. A recent Gallup poll shows that women are increasingly unhappier with the way they are treated in society. So this is a totally insane thing. Women are increasingly unhappy with the way they are treated in society. Now, that's not because of the way they're treated. That's because of what they're told. That's media. That's, feminism. That's feminist articles. That's feminist journalists. That's, feminist left-wing politicians telling them that there's this scary patriarchy that's undermining them at every turn. That's plotting against them and somehow keeping them down, even though it doesn't really make any sense and it's just clearly not true, but it must be happening. These are all ways to make people insane. These are all ways to undermine somebody's well-being. About 70% of conservative women feel they are treated fairly by society. So 70% of conservative women feel they are treated fairly by society, but only 44% of liberal women say the same. So you've got, I'm surprised, it's not a higher amount with conservatives. The thing is that the propaganda is so all pervasive. It's literally down to, TV commercials. It's like every TV show. It's every left-wing politician, and even right-wing politicians kind of dabble with this stuff if they think they can get them a couple of extra votes. It's just certainly academia. It's every institution. That's the messaging, is that women oppressed, women oppressed, women oppressed, even though it's just demonstrably false. And there are actually benefits now because of this. When you have 44% of liberal women feeling like they're oppressed by something imaginary, by an imaginary force, this pervasive force called the patriarchy that pervades everything, and you can't get away from it. These are ways to unbalance somebody mentally, to get them to believe things. Whenever you're getting people to believe things that just aren't true, it's never a good thing. A 2020 survey showed that 56% of white liberal women between ages 18 and 29 were diagnosed with a mental health condition, compared to 27% of conservative women in the same age bracket. 40% of liberal women between 30 and 49 reported having a mental health condition, compared to 26% of conservative women of the same age. Now, it is true, and there's nothing sexist in me saying this, is that I think that women are a little bit more vulnerable to some kinds, perhaps, of mental illness. Men and women aren't exactly the same. Women do tend to be, in the mean, more emotional than men. So a little bit less emotionally reserved than men. And that doesn't mean that there aren't women who are very reserved and very stoic and very in control of their emotions. And we know that there are men, lots of them, that aren't. Seems like a lot more these days. But in general, we're talking about here. More than half of young white liberal women have a diagnosed mental health issue. So, I don't know. I feel like some mental health things are almost like boutique mental health diagnoses, right? So you can, because it's a badge of honor these days and it's an excuse to like get out of work and that sort of thing. And you kind of don't really have any, you have less value in the modern, especially in the modern leftist world, if you don't have some sort of thing oppressing you. And that could just be that you've got, some diagnosed anxiety disorder or something. How much of this is not, it's just normal stuff, just the normal range of, behavior and feeling. And how much of it has just been basically turned into an industry, a mental health industry for people that are just really determined to have something they can say on, TikTok. I can't do this because of this. That's what it comes down to. All right. Another reason why Democrats and just the left in general might be insane is, take a look at this. Smithsonian race guidelines. In Smithsonian race guidelines, rational thinking and hard work are white values. So we've seen this before, but this is the sort of thing that would drive people a bit bonkers, right? A bit confused. Talking about race, aspects and assumptions of whiteness, and white culture in the United States. Can you imagine if this was anything else? Like, by the way, do you think in China they've got something like this? Like aspects and assumptions of Chineseness or Han-ness? Right? No, of course they don't. It's ridiculous. This is insanity. But if you want to drive a society mad, people in a society mad, tell them idiotic lies. Try and get them to believe that everything good and everything that will help them and everything that will improve their well-being physically, mentally, in every way, and also the well-being of the people around them, tell them that these are all this scary thing called whiteness that they have to be on the lookout for all the time. And this is not just bad for white, this is bad for any person of any background, right? So if you are black, say, and you're looking at this, and this is coming from an authoritative source, this is the Smithsonian, and you're reading this, and the individual is the primary unit. That's whiteness. So you shouldn't do that because we all know white is bad, right? So don't do that. But you're thinking to yourself, well, I don't know. I don't feel like just a, part of a faceless identity blob. Self-reliance, that's whiteness too. So I can't even just like be self-accountable. Oh, well, it seems kind of hard to succeed if I don't do that. Let's see. Nuclear family, father, mother, 2.3 children is the ideal social unit. It's this this is part of the ideology that keeps women from wanting to have families, get married. Also men too. Husband is breadwinner and head of the household. So if you're a man or a woman, and that's kind of sounds like it makes a lot of sense to you, guess what? You're doing whiteness, and that's bad. So don't. Let's say objective, rational, linear thinking. Just any background. You're of Chinese descent or Japanese descent, and you're looking at this and going, objective, rational, linear thinking is bad, but I'm in physics. I have to do that. Damn it. cause and effect relationships. This is Orwellian, right? This is Orwellian. This is the sort of thing that can just unbalance people, that can make people depressed, certainly cause anxiety. I mean, if they really buy into this all pervasive evil force, it's the dark side of the force, it's whiteness. And that's the last thing you want to do. I mean, this is just a recipe for a failed life. All of this is this ideology that creates these silly things like whiteness, so that they have to warn you about. It's just, this is a program to create failures, right? Telling people that self-reliance is bad for people. That's going to reduce well-being. Telling people the nuclear family is bad. Telling people that objective, rational, linear thinking and cause and effect relationships are bad. This is not going to help the world. This is going to create dysfunction and insanity. Here, Protestant work ethic. Hard work is the key to success. Ooh, that's scary. Whiteness. Better not work hard. Huh? Like, work before play. Better not be conscientious, because that's whiteness. That's that evil whiteness. This is a plot to get society to fail, to create dysfunction, so you can burn down the system and create your horrific Orwellian nightmare civilization on top of it. So, Democrats are gaining ground with one key demographic: the mentally ill. And it's really not hard to see why. I think the problem is that they're trying to create their new voters, their new mentally ill voters. Leftists prefer their supporters to be mentally ill, and they're trying to increase the number of mentally ill people to that end. So, I don't know. I mean, I'm not surprised. All right. Let's see. What are you guys saying? Let's go to the chat. Let's go to this thing again. Let's see. This sounds good. I had a ribeye bison steak with Brussels sprouts for dinner tonight. That sounds amazing. Why are you people shaming me with your dinners? God damn it. Let's see. Rosie says, wow, that headline sounds like it should be from the Babylon Bee, gaining ground with the D's, the mentally ill. Yep. They're trying to create mental illness, so that then they can convince those people to vote for them. It's easy. Crazy people vote for crazy shit. Let's see. Spambot says 25% of liberal men are medicated. I'm not surprised by that at all. Spambot says, damn, that means there are 75% of them unmedicated and a danger to the rest of us. I think the thing is about these, what do you call them, SSRIs, is that these pills, is that they actually make people more dangerous, it seems. It seems like, they were created for like very specific extreme cases, and then the pharmaceutical companies decided, hey, we could make way more money off this. We'll just say every time somebody gets sad, they've got clinical depression, and they'll be on this thing for the rest of their lives because they're super addictive. Let's see. JJ Nevada says, I'm sick of the white bashing. If it wasn't for white people, the USA wouldn't even exist. Well, that's where you're wrong, my friend. Didn't you know that it was black people who just built the whole country by themselves? Also, as well, just so you know, the pyramids, Sistine Chapel, everything in Japan and China. Apparently, it was just excursions out from Wakanda. They were able to do this because they had the spaceships and everything. That's a very silly thing. I think that the way that everybody on the planet should look at everything is be proud of your culture, be proud of what you've done, and also like see kind of everything in the world as humanity's legacy. Like everybody should be proud of, in my opinion, the American Constitution, right? Everybody should be proud of the pyramids. I mean, maybe proud's the wrong word, but just appreciative, appreciative of, Sistine Chapel, appreciative of, all of the wonderful things that have been created and that are being created now and that exists now as well. But one thing is for sure, uh yes, white people did in fact build the USA. They also built Canada, they built Europe, and they built a lot. Let's just say they built a lot. And the white bashing is retarded. It makes no sense. And again, like the British Empire is one of the greatest forces for good globally ever. Let's see. Rosie says, in one part of my career, I worked in a 95% male career. I was provided great accounts and the most updated tech. Then I was assigned untrained support, and after being told I should stop asking questions, was told to find the answers on my software or be demoted. I had increased sales by 50% with substantial support. When I refused the demotion, I demanded management and IT show me how to run the reports I needed using my assigned tech. Turns out not only had they given my new computer to someone else, but also had never loaded any of the software I needed to do my job. Well, that's not good. I feel like that was one of the in-chat conversations that I just put into the entire thing. So, but anyway, yeah. Sucks, man. Let's see. What's going on? It's getting hot in here. I'm starting to sweat just doing this. God damn it. Let's see. All right, let's move on. Let's move on to the next one. So, what we got going on here from Michael Schellenberger? So, this is what happens in Europe when you're a dissident against the Ukraine narrative, the NATO narrative, and the EU narrative. So, she is a well-known political scientist in Europe. She used to do, until recently, TV shows and panels and all. She was very well respected. She was one of the go-to people to call when you needed, an expert. And her life changed quite a bit after she wrote a book suggesting that the whole Ukraine Russia war was more complicated than was being pushed with the mainstream narrative. And this did not go over very well, and they decided to crush her. German political scientist Ulrike Gero was a well-respected member of the foreign policy establishment for 30 years. Then she criticized the war in Ukraine, and someone within the intelligence community told her it had orchestrated an aggressive campaign to destroy her life. Now, somebody that she hadn't even seen, but she knew from the intelligence community, warned her, and that they were coming after her, essentially. We're going to try and wreck her life. So, and this is because she was questioning the narrative that, the war started in 2022. There was nothing before that matters. And Russia just evil, Ukraine just good, and Ukraine's going to win the war. All the stuff that we've heard, right? Now, I'm not picking sides in any of this. I mean, my own opinion on it is that, yes, it did all start before 2022. There's a very long history at play in that part of the world, and particularly with that ground. And And so, yeah, I do think it's more complicated than just Ukraine good, Putin evil or Russia evil. Um, and it would just anybody with two brain cells to rub together should be able to, at least figure that much out. Maybe it's a bit more complicated than CNN is telling me. But in any case, she attempted to illuminate the topic in Europe. And again, very well respected, 30 years, and they came after her. And she was warned they were going to as well. Let's take a look.
In his article, yeah. And it's true that early August, I would be alerted from a person who is sort of, how shall I say, close to secret services. And he, a very old friend of mine, who I know since 30 years, but hadn't seen for 20 years, who would call me up, sort of, can you come to that coffee? I need to say something to you. And he would actually tell me early August 22, look, you need to be very careful now, Ulrike. You will be eradicated from publicity, shut out of the public sphere. And I didn't take this for serious, because I'm, what I am. I'm a single mother of two. I'm, I'm not wealthy. I have no power. I have no mandate. I'm not a parliamentarian. What should I have, right? And then actually it's true that end of September, because I was still sort of say a prominent or a known political scientist, so I had invitations in many European towns. I would fly to Milano for Confindustria, I would fly to Vienna for the industrial, the commercial sort of head of Austria. I had an invitation with the former Austrian commissioner Johannes Hahn in Brussels. I should have been sitting in a jury for the NDR. NDR is the northern sort of radio station of Germany, and they have an annual jury for the best book. And so I was elected into that jury. So I had, say, prestigious sort of meetings and conferences. And what happened at the end of September, in the last week actually of September 22, that I got within 72 hours, I was depaneled. I was disinvited. It's just like Milano calling, oh, you are no longer invited. Brussels calling, no longer invited. Vienna calling, no longer invited. NDR Hamburg calling, no longer invited.
So that's all just within a couple of weeks. All of a sudden, the message is being sent, you're done. And this is because she was questioning the established narrative. And we've said, this shouldn't be at all surprising. There are forces that want that war in Ukraine to continue. They want it to go on until there's no Ukrainians left. Let's continue.
And that really makes you, vertigo. Yeah, I felt like, what is this? I mean, it's 4 countries,
Mm-hmm.
And that's, honestly, I must say that then I got on sick leave because I didn't feel well. It was quite a thing.
Mm-hmm. And was that before the book came out that was critical of the Ukraine war, or was that after?
No, it was before, end of September. The book came out 6th of October. But the book, because you send it back and forth to your publishing house, and it was announced on Amazon, so people could know about the book, and they could also, took 1 and 2 together, because probably people could assume that I want to say in the book what I couldn't say in this radio or TV show, so it was not a secret that the book was coming. It was already announced. And so
clearly somebody made phone calls to get you, we call it deplatformed or disinvited from these media and conference appearances.
Clearly. I mean, it depends on how much you feel like Zufall, random things happening, but getting this invitation or depaneling from 4 European countries in the same sort of moment of time, to me, it seemed like a coordinated action. Yeah.
And it's the fact that your former, or that your acquaintance, this friend that works for the intelligence community, told you that this was going to happen. How far in advance? How many days before you were disinvited, did he give you that warning?
Something like from early August to end of September.
Okay. Well, so this is, and then was there something else about Wikipedia?
When he met me, the first to opening, it's a friend I hadn't seen for long, but to just introduce what is going to happen, he basically told me, look, I have been following you with Corona, because the thing is, there were 2 years of Corona already before. 2020, 2021, and I was one of the, say, prominent voices in Germany arguing against the measures. And because I was still a professor, I still had access to TV, I still had access to Deutschlandfunk, serious radio stations. So I wasn't dependent, and I was at University of Bonn, so I had some reputation and some authority in a way, right? And so when the guy came, he basically said, look, I followed everything that happened through the Corona month. And I checked your Wikipedia entries, who changed them in the last sort of weeks, because I could observe that my Wikipedia entries were downwriting me, more and more. Yeah, it starts at some point, and then you get, Aluhut, or you're right wing or right wing, whatever. There were all these Querdenken things in Germany that if you were criticizing the Corona measures, you were attacked. Yeah, and basically excluded from. You were really tagged, and so he told me that he looked up the last 150 entries of Wikipedia, and you can check the IP addresses. I'm not a digital expert, but then you can build hierarchies that you think there is 150 different persons making the entries, but it comes up to several persons, not many. Yeah, and they, it's like a hierarchy. Yeah, and so you can backtrace these IP addresses, and he told me that they could be backtraced, in his opinion, to intelligence services.
So she criticized the COVID measures. She criticized the Ukraine war, and this is what happens. It's becoming more and more dystopian in the EU. I guess she's probably lucky she wasn't arrested. They do arrest people in Europe for online, saying things online, for criticizing politicians. In Germany, they have a law where politicians are reporting people online, literally just calling them imbeciles. Like, one person was arrested for calling a German politician an imbecile. They're arresting people for social media posts. They're arresting people for social media posts in the UK. That's, I think, 30 a day right now. And that's not even in the EU, right? But I guess it's just proximity, maybe. So, just watching that makes me think, maybe we should look up, intelligence connections to Wikipedia. Because she's talking about how her Wikipedia was changed, and it turned out there's all these new citations, and they really could all trace back to just a few people involved in intelligence. So let's do it. Hold on. Fact check. One second. Let's see. Of course, on a Google, not much is going to come up, is it? Hold on. All right, maybe we'll try. Okay, we're going to try something else. We're going to try Grok. Known of All right, let's see what it has to say. There are claims and some evidence suggesting intelligence organizations have interacted with Wikipedia, but the extent and nature of these links are debated and often lack definitive proof. Here's a breakdown based on available information. Now, before we even start this, obviously they're using it. Obviously they're using it to influence, clearly. Why wouldn't you, is the thing. Like, if you're an intelligence organization for whatever country, why wouldn't you? You know it's going to influence people. You're going to try and influence. So if you can take somebody who is a dissenter against, one of your cherished narratives, well, you try and discredit them. There's nothing new in that. That's been forever. That's a tactic that's been used forever, and these are just new tools. So obviously they're doing it. The U.S. intelligence community developed Intellipedia, a wiki-based platform for collaborative data sharing. Let's see. Allegations of CIA and FBI editing. Here we go. Wikipedia co-founder Larry Sanger claimed in interviews around 2023 that CIA and FBI computers were used to edit Wikipedia articles as early as 2008. Suggesting ongoing manipulation for information warfare. These claims, widely shared on X, cite Sanger's statements but lack detailed evidence like specific edits or IP addresses tied to agencies. Sanger's assertion implies intelligence agencies might influence Wikipedia to shape public opinion, but no concrete documentation confirms systemic control. Well, he's the co-founder of Wikipedia, so he might, his word might carry some weights. And how much do you want to bet that he wasn't contacted by somebody in a trench coat after making the statement? All right, so, but I mean, obviously that's happening. Obviously, that's just a new tool for a very old strategy. A very old tactic, which is discrediting people. So you go on her Wikipedia page, it'd probably be the first thing they do before they make the calls to have all of her appearances canceled. But probably the first thing they do is go on Wikipedia and make her sound crazy. In fact, let's look up her Wikipedia. Ulrika Guerrat, I think that's how it's said. Okay. So let's hold on one sec. One second. There we go. Okay. So let's see what they've put in here. So we don't know what originally was in here, but she can't have been an extremist because 30 years she'd been doing appearances on, high profile European media. Let's see if they've got like a controversial Russia stance. Accused of victim blaming in the context of the 2022 Russian invasion of Ukraine. Victim blaming. This is the kind of language that I hate. I mean, this is manipulative language. As being accused of victim blaming. Victim blaming? This isn't like a fight. This isn't somebody called each other's names. I mean, this is a war. Victim blaming. I mean, that's just very childish language for this. Let's see. She was criticized for her claims that Ukraine had provoked Russia and that Putin only wanted security guarantees. She was accused of making unfounded claims, such as falsely claiming that German weapons deliveries made Germany a party to the war and denying Ukraine's right to self-defense. Accused of making unfounded claims, falsely claiming that Germany's weapons deliveries made Germany a party to war and denying Ukraine's right to self-defense. So, first off, if you are supplying weapons, aren't you a party to war? Aren't you? If you give somebody the gun they used to shoot somebody else, aren't you a party to that? I mean, they've been giving them tanks and what artillery they had, bullets. So I mean, this doesn't seem like a crazy claim to make, right? The people arming and encouraging Ukraine being a party to the war that's not a crazy false claim. I mean, certainly from a Russian perspective, right? That would not seem like a false claim. Let's see. Her book has been criticized by historians for conspiracy theoretical thinking without any scientific merit, as well as anti-Semitism. So what do you think? Do you think that the European academic who's been on mainstream European, media for decades, do you think it turns out that she was an anti-Semite all along? This is all very familiar, isn't it? This is actually predictable. That's why we went, because this is the sort of thing you would expect. Conspiracy theory. How many times have we heard that? Over perfectly rational concerns and things that are obvious. Anti-Semitism. This is just all boilerplate smear job. That's all that that's why we came to this, because we knew what we were going to find. It's so predictable. All right. All right. So I guess the point is that every time we cover the EU, we cover Europe, it turns out it's becoming increasingly messed up, increasingly a basket case, and more Orwellian by the day. Now, I think you would have to consider NATO to be a part of this. Of course, the United States being the most important part of that by far. But it's the same line. I mean, the EU has the same line as NATO generally anyway. So is it somebody tied to NATO? I mean, the NATO countries are all European or American. It doesn't really matter, actually. But you can see that this is specifically a European intellectual who is being deplatformed and canceled and smeared in Europe. So that's not really surprising. Should we take a look at what a basket case Europe is? Here's Paris. So Paris Saint-Germain, the soccer team, won I think the Champions League, so they riot. But it turns out that when they lose, they also riot. And also when there's no game at all, they also riot. So Paris is looking great. Yeah, so that was all over the place, went on all night, and that's just normal there now. It didn't even, I think, make like the front pages of the newspaper, but it was a total, I think an enormous amount of damage, burning cars. It's just normal there now. That's France now. What does this say? Europe is currently in the process of paying the price for years of importing millions of people from a culture hostile to the fundamental values of Western culture. And this is by no means the last of the installments of that price to be paid in blood and lives for smug elites, utopian self-indulgences, in moral preening and gushing with the magic word diversity. Diversity. What does that word mean? It really is just a magic spell, isn't it? Here is from a warning from this is actually from 2018. About how they're planning to make criticism of immigration illegal. Germany's spy agency falsely labeled the most popular party in Germany, the AfD, as a extremist party. And it turns out that they were just lying. They made it all up, which all the people that were voting for them already knew. But that's Germany. Let's see. What else have we got here? Yeah, here. I guess this is Paris. Yes, so here's Paris. Again, that's just normal there now. Let's see. Spain and Portugal blackout blamed on solar power dependency. Electricity experts point to dangers of grid instability when renewables dominate output. There's your net zero. Hey, Mark Carney, were you paying attention to this? I don't think he was. I don't think he was, because he's still talking the same batshit crazy gibberish. Let's see. What's this? All right. So we could actually keep going for a while, but I think probably, what are we, an hour in? Okay. We better get moving. So let's move on. Let's get to the chat. What were you guys saying? Are they going to let me do an ad? Not yet. I need more people. It's a little quiet tonight. Let's see. Let's see. Nevada said 72 hours. Is that when she was talking about when she got the? Yeah, it was when she got those phone calls canceling all of her appearances. Yeah, I think it was 72 hours, wasn't it? Let's see. Turtle says, "Good evening, Balonians. Good evening to you, Turtles." So you know what? I'm feeling a bit low energy. I'm having my coffee, but I'm feeling a little bit low energy. I don't know. Is there anything that you guys can think of that could improve our energy, that could boost up our energy, just pep up the show a little bit? I don't know. I don't know what there is. I mean, I had a bunch of coffee. I did a bunch of cocaine. I did a bunch of crystal meth. And then I ate an entire human adrenaline gland. Still nothing. I don't know. I guess it's just hopeless.
They, them, energy. They, them, energy. They, them, energy.
And teapot. Now I feel better. There we go, people. That good old they, them energy. Can't get enough of it. Rosie says, alarming and frightening to be suddenly shut out and threatened. Good thing she had a friend in intelligence. Yeah, I mean, she got the warning, but it didn't really help her very much. That's when you know that, like, things are going the wrong way. Your society is going the wrong way. That you're not free anymore. Not really. Let's see. Izzy says, guilty of wrong thing. Yeah, exactly. Izzy says, you're not allowed to disagree. Trust the science trademark, not science, the science. Let's see. Nevada says that Starmer is a POS. Apparently, I saw something earlier. He's at like 15% approval. I think I was watching something on Lotus Eaters where they're just saying he's just a straight up, him and his government, they're just straight up enemies of the British people. Let's see. Turtle says, trust the commie experts. Trust those commie experts.
And that's nothing but pure and simple old-fashioned communism.
Trust the commie experts. Trust the science. The science are the pre-approved experts who are just going to say what they're told to say. Let's see. As he says, we live in a dystopian nightmare. A dystopian nightmare. Well, it really depends. I mean, it depends on who you are. You could be happily going through your life and you're just happy just with whatever TV says. That's good. You just go with that. But if you are like that woman, that expert, that political scientist, you start to feel pretty unnerved, I think. And I'm starting to worry that is there going to be that knock on the door in the middle of the night? Let's see. And now you guys are talking about making songs and making sandwiches. I don't know what the hell's going on. I'm just going to go past all of that. Turtle says, hoping Trump opens Alcatraz. I did hear something about that. Her grandpa was a guard there. Well, that's interesting. I've been there. I did like the tourist thing, went over. It was interesting. Wouldn't like to try and swim off it. Turtle says, Bill Gates wants to have drones flying around to survey people. Well, he also wants to block out the sun, like Mr. Burns from The Simpsons. So, yeah, and he also wants to put vaccines in mosquitoes. So just, you don't have a choice. You're getting the Gates jab, whether you like it or not. Let's see. Spambot says, I would love Alcatraz to open for all the Canadian liberals. What? I didn't say it. That was Spambot. I didn't say it. I'd never say that. Let's see. Let's see. Izzy says, I reclaim my time. Is that because of the Day of the Energy? Let's see. Can't stand that clip, Spambot says. It makes me want to vomit. It's just a part of the show. Everybody just accept it. It's just a part of the show now. Nevada did miss the energy. You did. It's just a part. I can't stop it now. It's just taken on a life of its own. It just exists now on its own. It has its own life force, that clip. I can't stop it. All right. That said, what's going on here? From Amy E. Sousa, MA Department Psychology. So why do I critique preferred pronouns? This is what she's saying. I guess people ask her, why do you critique preferred pronouns? I critique them because they're dumb. It's stupid, and it's a make-believe fantasy world that I don't believe that it's healthy for society to just go with every weird, radical, progressive fad and then pretend that it's real and it's always been real. What is she saying here? Let's take a look.
So, why do I critique the use of quote unquote preferred pronouns? Preferred pronouns are not benign. They are not kind. They introduce a cognitive disruption that dissociates us from our primal instincts. This is especially problematic when it comes to kids. Every parent knows when kids are about 2, 3, they go through a language acquisition phase. They're saying things like, Mommy, that's a bird. And the mom's like, yeah, that's a bird. And they're like, Daddy, that's a plane. And the dad's like, yeah, that's a plane. That's not just about building language. That is also internal authority building. That is when a child is going through the process of learning that they can trust their own bodies to tell them the truth about the world around them. They are learning they can trust their own direct sense perceptions, and they are learning that they can trust their instincts. So the problem with preferred pronouns is that they disrupt everyone from being able to respond immediately to their instincts. When we used to have in the DSM the diagnosis of transvestism, everyone understood that a man in a dress was a man in a dress. No one was asking anyone to disrupt their own instinctual responses. But now kids are being led down a path where they are being told, no, you have to refer to that man as a woman. You need to refer to that woman as a man. Whenever we are in a situation where something is disrupting or hijacking our instincts, that creates a vulnerability. Gavin de Becker has a couple of books. The best book is The Gift of Fear, but he also has a book specifically about protecting children, protecting the gift. This is about how to help your child be safe in the world, how to help your child be more and more honed to their adaptive instincts so they can trust themselves to stay out of danger. Gavin de Becker talks about our instincts and intuition. Intuition, the root word of intuition is tuere. It means to guard. It means to protect. Those responses are there to protect us. So things that hijack those instincts and disrupt them, those create a vulnerability. They create a cognitive distance from being able to respond immediately. And it extends to situations beyond just the situation of preferred pronouns. It creates a pattern in our brains in which we are disrupted from our own embodied responses.
Yeah, it's kind of teaching incoherence, right? I mean, just foundationally, it's just wrong to lie to children about something as basic as sex. Because that's what this is. Gender has just been redefined. The word gender, which was always synonymous with sex, has been redefined into an infinite series of abstractions with no bearing in reality whatsoever. So it's actually a kind of Orwellian doublethink, right? So what what is obviously a man with a beard in a sundress now becomes both a trans woman, but also definitely a woman, but your brain knows that it's actually a man. So I think you could see how psychologically this could start to break down and undermine kind of vital functions in the brain. This is seems to be fairly immoral to do to children, right? Aside from the fact that it's just immoral to teach children a totally false reality. And we're not talking about Santa Claus, right? We're not talking about that. We're not talking about the Easter Bunny, something you grow out of. This is something that's supposed to be fixed for life. A total incoherence permanently baked into young people's brains that is supposed to endure for their entire life. So it's easy to see how you could have people that could become totally incapable of actually making rational decisions or recognizing reality or being able to accurately describe reality because they've been told that reality isn't real. It's these abstractions that are real, and they take precedence over what is obvious, over the obvious accurate description of reality. So, and this is only something that a deeply dysfunctional and frankly insane society would do to children. It's a social experiment on a generation, an entire generation of children, which is deeply immoral and insanely irresponsible. Because eventually these children are going to take over the world. They're going to take over your country. And you want them to be rational actors, not insane ideologues who are confused by literally everything and can be led down the primrose path on literally anything. And can be led down the primrose path just at will. Just believe this crazy thing now. So, yeah, it's just wrong. It's not just it's not just being nice. It's not this simple, harmless thing. Oh, it's just use these pronouns. It's just nice for people. Maybe sometimes you can't just do things because somebody says that you're mean if you don't. I kind of feel like civilizations don't really work when that's the case. Because at some point, somebody's got to point and say, no, that's wrong. Anyway, where are we going next? We're going to do some Canada stuff. First, let's get back to the chat for a second. Let's see. Nevada says, it's retarded. So glad we took retarded back. I am so glad. Rambot says, and become stupider humans. Stupider humans, that's 100% correct. All right. What are we, an hour and 10? All right. We still got quite a lot to get through. We better get going here. Okay. So I wanted to show you something here. So we got Canada, the state of Canada. Let me tell you. The absolute state of Canada. So the Liberals have not changed at all. I've been saying all along that the Liberal Party of Canada is not going to suddenly be a different, buttoned down, realistic, responsible party. grounded in reality now that Justin Trudeau's gone and Mark Carney is in charge. Because Mark Carney is a radical progressive, just like Justin Trudeau, and the Liberal Party itself has been transformed. It's gone from being what was really kind of a moderate, left-leaning party to a full-on radical leftist party. And the only reason that Mark Carney could become prime minister is because he is that as well. So nothing has changed at all. Here is Aaron Gunn. He's a new MP from, I think, North Vancouver Island. And let's just watch this. So they're attacking him, of course, because, they're attacking him because of statements he's made about residential schools, in which he was actually totally correct. But let's watch. And here's the Liberal here. This is what passes for a Liberal politician in Canada.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Questions and comments? Questions et commentaires. The member for Winnipeg North.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I and many of my colleagues have been able to witness the far right in the Conservative Party is alive and well.
The far right Conservative Party, it never ends. It's the magic spell. I guess continue.
Within the Conservative Party and Pierre Poilievre today. Today's Conservatives, I would suggest to you, Mr. Speaker, are in fact in need of. Oh, I saw the Speaker stand up. I thought maybe I was to get you to calm down a little bit there, Mr. Speaker. The bottom line in the question.
Just a total weasel. It's actually difficult to even listen to him, but we have to.
I have for the member is, can he share with the House his honest reflections on what residential schools are about or were about?
Okay.
Mr. Speaker, the member across the way is once again continuing the proud Liberal tradition of spreading misinformation. I have never denied anything about the horrors that occurred in residential schools, but the Liberals are just trying to once again distract from their horrible record on the economy of doubling the national debt, of increasing violent crime by more than 50% over the past 10 years, and by leaving this country weaker and more vulnerable to intimidation and terrorists from the United States.
Yeah, they call it residential school denialism. It's one of the Canadian leftist magic spells used to divert attention away from the Liberal Party failures. Now, Aaron Gunn, Conservative, had made statements that had made true statements about the fact that the unmarked graves hoax is a hoax. There's been no bodies found. And what was it? So there was a claim made going back a couple of years now that there had been a bunch of unmarked graves of children found at residential schools. And residential schools were places that Indigenous children would go if there were no schools in their community. They would go. Often the parents would apply for their children to go to these schools because there was no other way that they were going to learn how to read and write and be able to function in a modern society, right? And it was claimed by. So there was a survey done with ground penetrating radar, and they found what they called anomalies under the ground, outside the residential schools, which is schools that students went to live at because there was no other option for them for school. There were a bunch that were taken there, reportedly against the family's will. But in any case, there's a huge scandal around the residential schools in Canada. But this claim that was made that there were all these bodies that were unmarked graves that had been found. This was based on ground penetrating radar, and it was not evidence of anything. But it was picked up by the media and just pushed as if it was real, even though there's no ground penetrating radar can tell you there's things under the ground. It can't tell you what it is. And guess what? There's things under the ground, and they're not all unmarked graves. Hold on one second. From Billboard Chris, Remember the reporting of bodies of murdered Indigenous children found in unmarked mass graves at residential schools in Canada? All a hoax. Never was a single shred of evidence. Not a bone, nothing. Ground-penetrating radar had picked up underground anomalies near a residential school in Kamloops, BC. They could be rocks for all we know, but someone decided to make up a story of 215 dead bodies of children. The Washington Post reported mass graves. Reporters wrote the bodies of 3-year-old children had been found. All a hoax. This was a media and political hoax. So Justin Trudeau jumped on this because it suited his kind of very woke strategy extremely well. His very woke political strategy very well. And, went and stood out in a field with a teddy bear as if he was standing over a child's grave that, of course, wasn't there. Soon, reports of other unmarked grave sites hosting murdered Indigenous children sprang up across the country. Not a tooth was found, not a fingernail, absolutely nothing to substantiate any of it. Trudeau flew the flag in Ottawa at half-mast for the better part of a year. He knelt on the unmarked grave of a non-existent body while holding a teddy bear for the cameras. It was actually a really gross display by the media and by the Liberal Party. In fact, all of the leftists in Canada, flying the flag at half-mast, Trudeau with his teddy bear stunt. Trudeau must have been known. Trudeau must have had some advisor who said, well, actually, we don't know there's anything there, right? Like, you understand this ground-penetrating radar, it doesn't actually say what's under there. There's probably lots of stuff there, and none of it being unmarked graves. Being Trudeau, didn't care. The journalists in Canada did not care. They pushed it. CBC was still pushing it on election night. CBC was still, Rosemary Barton lied about it on the night of the English debates before the election. Monuments of children's sneakers representing the fake dead were put up and stayed in cities for months or years. A teacher, Jim McMurtry, was even marched out of his class in front of his students, his job taken away for telling the truth that there was no evidence nuns had murdered all of these kids. The government has now spent $8 million, I believe it's now actually about $12 million, searching for bodies. Can't find any. Billions were even put aside for reconciliation. Meanwhile, 100 churches have been burned to the ground across Canada in response, all a hoax, and by the way, no outrage over the churches being burned down. No bodies found after spending $8 million searching for bodies at Kamloops Residential School. Well, they didn't actually even do any digs because there were some digs at a couple of other, because these claims sprang up all across the country, and there were a couple that were done and they found just rocks. There's nothing. And so that made it pretty clear. Okay, yeah, there actually isn't anything there, but it's leverage. It's leverage against the government. It's cultural leverage to continue the lie, to continue the hoax. So the money all went somewhere. Nobody knows where the money went. They were given to do the excavations, but there's never going to be a dig because everybody knows that there's nothing there. And it's just better just to leave it as it is. Because, not that the media or leftist politicians in Canada would even be persuaded by finding nothing, right? They'd still find a way. They'd just ignore it. They would do what they do with everything, which is to ignore the evidence. Here's Justin Trudeau, I think, very well knowing that this was just a charade. There with his teddy bear, knowing there was nothing under the ground, but soulless politicians will do what they do. Meanwhile, Ottawa very quietly, this is from February 2025, Ottawa very quietly ends funding for National Advisory Committee on Unmarked Residential School Graves. And that should be where the hoax ended, but it won't. They're still making the claims. Again, Rosemary Barton of the night of the debates made a fake claim, made a false claim that they had found evidence which the CBC had to run a correction for. Rosemary Barton didn't correct it herself, by the way, on air or admit to it, but the CBC did it quietly. So the hoax will live on. All right, so that's the state of Canada. What is going on here? So do you want to see the mayor? There's some terrible mayors in the United States for my American viewers. You guys know that. Canada is no different. This is maybe actually the most ridiculous mayor of a major city in North America. Probably is, actually. Let's take a look.
Now, we've all seen the depressing news. Pride Toronto have lost some corporate sponsor because they just don't know who they are. They're short-sighted. They don't know who they are.
I think maybe they do know who they are. Let's watch that again. Yeah, this is the mayor of Toronto.
Now, we've all seen the depressing news. Pride Toronto have lost some corporate sponsor because they just don't know who they are. They're short-sighted.
So if you don't just keep giving money for this thing that's becoming kind of increasingly unpopular because it's so strayed from its original purpose, which was originally just basic rights, like like the cops shouldn't break into gay bars and arrest everybody, or gay marriage, whatever. But it's more from that into just a fetish parade, really. And what does it really stand for now? It stands for, child sex changes. It's kind of just become this extreme thing, which increasingly a lot of gay people have distanced themselves from it and don't go to it because they don't even recognize it. It's just a bunch of weirdos that don't represent them. But she says that the corporate donors that aren't giving, I think she said 30% less, they don't know themselves. She says maybe they know themselves better than she knows herself.
They don't know who they are. And the first round of corporate cuts, about $300,000, the city of Toronto said, you know what? We're going to come to the table. We will provide a grant that is $350,000 and every year for 5 years.
So because it's becoming more and more unpopular with the public, which is why corporate support is lessening by $300,000, she said, the city will just give them the money. So taxpayers have to make it up. Nice.
62% increasing the funding by 2027. Yeah.
Well, at least people know that all those increases in their property taxes are going to good use.
That's our commitment to you. Now, then there's the security costs, and then there are now Google and what? Okay, we won't even. Okay, I know. I hate telling them. Yeah, don't shop at Home Depot, guys. Rona. Okay. Yeah. There are other choices. Anyway.
Can you believe this is the mayor of Toronto? Just everything else aside, just this person. This is the mayor of Toronto, the biggest city in Canada.
Shop Canadian. Shop local, no? Yeah. Yes. We are not the 51st state. Are you kidding? We are proud Torontonians, right?
We are not the 51st state. What does that have to do with anything? It's just like they're just like robots. They're just we're not the 51st state. Nobody said we were. Where did that come from? It shows you how mindless it all is. It's just, it's just catchphrases and just buzzwords, right? She just, I don't know what I'm supposed to say next, so I'll just say we're not the 51st state. Yay. Nothing has anything to do with anything.
Yeah, absolutely. So we have another round of funding that you heard about. Yes, another $2 million to help out with the funding need because of security and all that concern. So we at the city are stepping up.
So they're not going to be short of dildos at the Pride Parade this year. Don't worry. Don't worry. What else have we got here? Canada's just depressing. The more I do on the more that I do on Canada, just the more depressing it is. Okay, so one last thing here with Canada. So Mark Carney was elected because TV said that he was this economics genius and he would get he's this buttoned down moderate guy. He was going to get everything in hand and totally responsible. And don't you know, he's a Oxford economist. Don't you know he's an Oxford economist? For God's sakes, I mean, how could you not vote for this guy? Well, it turns out he's increasing spending higher than Trudeau was. Than was in Trudeau's plan. He's increasing it not 2%, 8%. It was 2% under Trudeau's plan. So that's maybe not a great idea. Also, they announced there'd be no budget in 2025, so nobody would have any idea where the money was going or where it was coming from or how much was being borrowed, any of that. That did cause a bit of a flap because that's not what you'd expect from the economics genius, the button-down guy who's going to get to work. You know, he's not like that, pajama boy, Justin Trudeau. He's a serious guy. So anyway, then it was like, well, you'll get something in the fall, maybe a budget, I guess, maybe something like that in the fall. And the Conservatives put forward a motion yesterday to urge the Liberals, this is not like a binding thing, they don't have to follow, but to urge them to put together a spring budget, which would seem like the responsible thing to do, especially when you've got a $500 billion spending. So, and guess what? It passed. It passed. The other minority parties joined in. So, the NDP, the Bloc, they joined the Conservatives, and it was passed. It's not binding. But it would seem like if you really are this top-notch, if you really are this genius economist, you should be able to put together a budget, shouldn't you? I mean, it seems like just a really basic thing. Just put something together. Anyway, he's not going to. He's not going to. And why would nobody should be surprised? I was warning the country for the few people that would listen about this guy. But let's listen to this.
Take note of last night's motion. But what Canadians deserve, what Canadian provinces deserve, is a health care transfer. Is a transfer for child care. Is a transfer for dental care. Is a transfer to support affordability. That's what's in the main estimates, and we expect the support of members opposite.
So we're going to throw a bunch of money around instead of providing a budget because we're responsible.
The right honourable member for Edmonton West.
Mr. Speaker, I realize he's new here, but all those things would be in a budget if people Mr. Speaker, this year alone, this government is going to spend a staggering $26 billion on high-priced, liberal-friendly consultants, an eye-watering $1,400 for every Canadian family. They'll present no budget, no departmental plans, and zero transparency. They won't even stand in this House and tell Canadians what the deficit will be this year. Will the Liberals come clean, table the spring budget as this House has demanded?
The right honourable.
It's even worse than Trudeau. In every way, it's less transparent. It's more opaque than Trudeau. And also, they're spending more. He's spending more. He's creating more debt for Canada. And zero transparency. Nothing. Nobody knows. He just keeps saying, we're spending on this and this and this. And as he said, like, that would all be in the budget. Like, that's why you would provide the budget. So we know how much money has to be borrowed, for instance. That's kind of important. It is just like Justin, only worse. Only worse. For from Laurie Goldstein here. Mark Carney defies calls for spring budget. Carney is defying the will of the House of Commons and raising concerns in financial markets about his government's lack of financial transparency that could raise Canada's borrowing costs. Are you happy, Liberal voters? Are you happy? In fact, let's take a look at this. This comes on the heels of a report by the Organization for Economic Cooperation and Development released Tuesday that says Canada will be one of the developed world's hardest hit economies this year and next. These predictions were being made well before Mark Carney became prime minister. And so it's obviously that's not going to end with this level of irresponsibility and opaqueness from the Carney government. The media in Canada is trying to pin this all on tariffs. All of these problems, all these predictions were happening well before the tariffs. Predicting 1% economic growth for Canada this year and 1.1% in 2026, compared to global growth of 2.9% in both years. The OECD said the slowdown is expected to be the most concentrated in the US, Canada, Mexico, China, with smaller downward adjustments in other economies. So, but Carney's an Oxford economist. Do you think there's no economists at the OECD? Or the ratings agencies that are warning about a downgrade of the Canadian currency? I don't know. It might have been a great idea for the mainstream media in Canada to interview, I don't know, like Liz Truss or something, or some other people from that would have something relevant to say about his time at the Bank of England, for instance, that wasn't just toadying or propaganda. That never happened, of course. We just heard that Bank of England. Isn't that impressive? We didn't hear about anything, what he actually did. They avoided that like the plague for obvious reasons. Like, let's see, they have the highest electricity costs in the world in the UK now because of Carney's net zero that he pushed there. Inflation because he printed too much money, that sort of thing. That might have been good for people to know, but I mean, it's just like it's a broken record, isn't it? Do we have anything else in here that we want to get to? Let's see. No, I think that we're good. Okay, let's move on. Let's get the hell out of Canada. Canada's depressing. We don't need to go there. Let's do some memes. All right, here we go. Heroic pit bull swims 5 miles out to sea. Heroic pit bull swims 5 miles out to sea to bite a child. They love biting children. They love it. They're just irrepressible when it comes to biting children. They'll swim all the way 5 miles out to sea to bite that child. Let's see. I did some financial planning, and it looks like I can retire at 97 and live comfortably for 11 minutes. I'm telling you, there are people that I know who this is going to become their reality. And you know, and they will continue to vote for policies and politicians that will make this reality for them. They will never change. They will never change their mind. It will just be more liberal. That's the solution. More liberal. Did the humans receive our message? Yes. They've named it techno and they're dancing to it. It's actually, yeah. I don't know. Probably. Let's see. Our Democratic mayor and governor are destroying my city. I'm done. Next time I'm voting for a different Democrat. Yeah. They always will. They always will. I still find it amazing. I've talked about it a million times, but at the governor recall election in California, where Larry Elder was challenging Gavin Newsom, and the LA Times ran a headline for a story where they said that Larry Elder was the black face of white supremacy. That's how little respect they have for their readers, for the people of California. That betrays just a total cynicism. And it's almost like laziness. Like, we can't think of anything better, but this'll do. They're stupid. They will just those sophisticated readers of the LA Times will just buy literally anything we tell them, as long as it's negative against a Republican. Yeah. All right, let's get on to the next thing. So, White House. From the White House X account, 6 one-way tickets for Mohammed's wife and 5 kids. Final boarding call coming soon. The White House isn't messing around with this shit anymore. They've had enough. Wife and kids of illegal alien behind anti-Semitic firebombing could be deported by tonight. So, it's dad's home is what it is. Dad's home. Right? Mom isn't home. Dad's home. So, let's take a look. Colorado terror attack during a pro-Israel rally in Boulder. Mohammed Sabri Soliman, an Egyptian national, launched a firebomb and flamethrower attack while shouting, "Free Palestine." The more of these Palestine protesters I see, the less that I like them, frankly. 9 injured, 1 critical, overstayed U.S. visa, FBI targeted terrorist attack. Well, I would say so.
Stay.
I kind of feel like you don't really need that in your country.
He's right there. He's throwing Molotov cocktails right there.
There he is.
Where you fucking belong?
And you going to jail, man. I don't give a fuck. You don't antagonize shit like that. You cause this shit.
He's not. He didn't do anything. Chill.
I don't want to hear it.
So that guy there. So 6 one-way tickets for Mohammed's wife and 5 kids. Final boarding call coming soon. So this is the White House X account. They're not fucking around. And I mean, maybe it's time to not fuck around, right? Like, maybe that's the time. Don't fuck around. Of course, the media whitewashes everything. Media Lies posted, the whitewashing is in full swing. MSNBC's reporting Mohammed Sabri Soliman as an Egyptian national, but they're playing dumb, claiming it's not clear immediately when he arrived, how he got here, or if he's legal, after they screwed up earlier, calling him a white male. Yes, that's right. They called him a white male, didn't they? Because that's politically correct. MSNBC report on the Boulder, Colorado terror attack. He's a white male.
As far as the investigation itself, we're still trying to verify and confirm some video, but it appears to show a significant portion of the incident as it happened. There's an individual that's taken into custody. He's a white male. Whether or not that's the person that police ultimately arrested and will ultimately charge.
Well, it turns out he's an illegal immigrant from Egypt. And he's not going to be hanging around. Doesn't look like it. Although I'm sure they'll find a judge to try and block it. Of course they will. So, I don't know. Just lunacy. Why nobody asked for any of this? I guess if you're voting for whatever radical left-wing party, whether it's Democrats or liberals or NDP or Labor, like, you kind of are voting for it now. Like, you shouldn't be under any illusions, right? They're going to nurture this sort of thing. They're going to welcome them into your country. All right. So what are we, an hour and 39? What are you guys talking about? Let's get a different thing on here. Let's get something different. Oh, Fence Lady. We haven't seen her in ages. Hello, Fence Lady. There we go. Let's see. JDL says, what are the odds the new election in Canada next year? Probably more like 3 years. Maybe a couple years. I don't think they're great. I don't know. Yeah, probably a few years, probably. I think ultimately the NDP will support them in any confidence vote. So even though they didn't support them on the bill urging a spring budget, but that's not anything binding. Spambot Fodder says, the more Canada depresses me, the more an independent Alberta inspires hope. It may be the only way. It really may be the only way. And if it does happen, I'm going there. I'm selling and I'm getting the fuck out and I'm going to Alberta. 100%. Let's see. Turtle says CCP is here, talking about the mayor of Toronto. Well, the CCP is in Canada. Their tentacles are weaved through our politics, everything. And of course, the Liberals benefit from that, so they're not going to do anything about it. Turtle says, who is Canada's Alex Soros? Alex Soros, so George Soros' son. I don't know, I guess that would be Justin Trudeau, really, wouldn't it? Let's see. Radio streamer saying, I'm going to go make some coffee. I need some energy. It may do on its own, but I'm not sure. Well, I'm sure that just some coffee will probably do it. I mean, I don't know what else we could do anyway. I mean, you're kind of on your own out there. But there's only so much that I can do to give you energy from here, from this remote location, from this secret remote location. I mean, in fact, it's really crazy to even be asking me.
Gave them energy. Gave them energy. Gave them energy. Gave them energy.
Teapot. I knew what you were getting at. All right. Spambot says, my grandmother calls pit bulls babysitter dogs. I mean, most of them, I had a buddy who had a big pit bull and they had like a little kid and it was a wonderful, like kind of simple, very simple dog, not very bright, but very affectionate and meek. It is just this big pit bull with like a huge jaw. He used to jump up on me and lick my face. And I'm like, it's licking my face, but it could be biting my face off as well. So it was always a little bit like, it could bite my face off. They do that occasionally, but it never did. And most of them are very nice. But the thing is, sometimes they do rip your face off and they bite kids. So the thing is, it does happen. And if it does happen, I mean, it's very hard to stop them and to get your face back out of their mouth. Let's see. Rosie says 5 miles to bite. All I had to do was walk across the room. I was 3, she was 1. Guess that makes me smarter than a dog. What? What happened here? You got bit by a pit bull? Jeez. Well, I'm glad you're still alive. Radio streamer says pit bulls are good family dogs if raised with the child from puppy and trained well. Except, I mean, that's true. That's very true. it might rip your face off. I mean, let's be honest. Let's see. Spambot Fodder says, the street I grew up had 3 families with pit bulls and Dobermans. Those dogs followed us kids to the park and would stop big kids from picking on us. Well, those are good dogs. And I'm glad that they didn't rip your face off. At least you didn't mention that. Streamer says, I've known people that have raised pit bulls and it all goes back to training. But how many of them had their faces? Still had their faces? I'm just asking. Let's see. Spambot says, twice in one stream is just mean. You're not talking about they, them energy, are you? Rosie says, I muted and reclaimed my time. This is not a Senate hearing. No, you don't get to do that. Radio Streamer says, my mother just entered the room and she has never got energy. Can I show her the energy one more time? Come on. I don't think that people can take any more energy. I think it's too much energy. I mean, what am I, some sort of monster?
They, them, energy. They, them, energy. They, them, energy. They, them, energy.
And Teapot. And that's the last one. That's the last one. That was a special. That was a They, Them Energy special for Radio Streamer's Mom. And that's it. No more They, Them Energy tonight. We're done with the They, Them Energy. It's over. Rosie says, no, I bit my baby sister. Okay. I thought that was what you meant, but it could have also been you got bit by a pit bull. All right. Spambot says, first thumbs down, don't you dare. Don't you dare. Don't you dare. Absolutely not. What? There's a thumbs down. Remove that. Remove that thumbs down. That's uncalled for. My feelings are genuinely wounded right now. I'm extremely hurt. I'm emotionally damaged by this. I don't know if I could even keep doing the stream, frankly. There's so much pain right now. Let's see. Rosie says, my mom was not likely watching. I would play the mom card. All right. Where are we going? All right. So this is funny. Daddy Polish Chuck. I've shown you some videos from him before. He's pretty good. Hamas thanks the brave women of America. So let's check this out. I'm just looking. Spambot saying, and I'm out. Did Spambot leave because of the they, them energy? God damn it. It's fun. It's just a part of the show. We have to live with it at this point. All right. Anyway, let's watch this. This is funny.
Hi there. My name's Siraj Hashmi, and I'm the head of the U.S. chapter of Hamas. And today I'm making this video because I just want to say thank you to all the women in this country who have been supporting our cause. Hamas is an incredibly misunderstood organization, with our key objectives being reclaiming our land, the right to self-determination, and then eventually eradicating all Jews worldwide. Most people in the West don't even realize that Hamas is actually an acronym that stands for Homosexual Accepted Multi-Ethnic Allied Solidarity. You don't need a brain to support us. I mean, supporting us is a real no-brainer. That's what I meant to say. If it wasn't for all the women in this country marching every weekend for our cause, we'd probably have to return all the hostages and surrender. Speaking of hostages, we want to thank you ladies for your absolute relentlessness in tearing down the posters of the Israeli hostages that we currently hold. The Jews put them up and you tear them down. And from the videos we've seen, it's almost 100% women doing the tough work of tearing down these hostage posters. We know that many people in this country find your behavior tasteless and un-American. But you only do so because women in this country have not suffered any consequences for their actions in a very long time. You women understand something that most normal people don't. Specifically, that Jews are white and Palestinians are less white. Therefore, Jews equal bad and Palestinians equal good. It's really that simple and requires no further interrogation. I also want to thank all the ladies who are currently calling for intifada as well. Your chants are catchy, and you know in your hearts that intifada is merely a non-violent civil uprising. Sure, the last intifada was violent and bloody, but that was mostly due to some miscommunications, but we can assure you that the next one will be peaceful. Lastly, and most importantly, Hamas would like to thank all you ladies who are sticking up for us in refuting the claims that any women were raped on October 7th or since. We know this must be very difficult for you, considering only a few short years ago, all of you ladies were blindly chanting, "Believe all women." It takes a truly impressive amount of intellect and consistency, and here at Hamas USA, we are very, very optimistic about the future of this country. So remember, Hamas is just a scrappy group of freedom fighters pushing back against oppression. And if you don't agree with us, you're kind of racist.
That's pretty good. That's pretty good. Let's see. Turtle's saying he voted for Harris. Who voted for Harris? This guy? I don't think so. I don't think he can vote anyway. He's a Canadian. So he lives in New York, but I don't think he's an American citizen. Let's see. Rosie supports Spambot. God damn it. You're going to start plotting against me just because I make you watch the horrible video of the they them energy. I can't stop now. I'm addicted to it. JDL says, Richie, at least you have free healthcare in Canada. Well, it's not really free because they tax literally everything to pay for it. And it's becoming increasingly like free healthcare in like Cuba, say. Right? So like when you've got literal like 20-hour waits at the ER, like people just don't show up anymore. So there's one thing that's gone. When people are dying before they can get treatment, obviously something is happening. The healthcare isn't that great again. Isn't that great suddenly? And obviously there's no mystery around this. It's totally overwhelmed with the millions of people that have flooded the country under the Liberals over the last decade. And that continued to, and at an increased pace under Mark Carney now, 800,000 just in the first 3 months, 2025. So that's even worse than Trudeau. Unbelievable. Actually, considerably worse than Trudeau, which is hard to believe. Again, this guy was supposed to be responsible and moderate. Not so much. I was saying that the entire time, but not enough people listened. So I think that in Canada, we will end up with a kind of a two-tiered healthcare like they have in the UK, where you can pay for it if you want. There's already some kind of private, I mean, like dental is private, although they're trying to socialize that as well, even more now, and, eye care, that sort of thing. And it already kind of exists around the fringes, some private healthcare, but I think we're going to end up having to institute an American system parallel to the Canadian system. I mean, in the States, you already have like private and socialized medicine there as well, because you've got like Medicaid and Medicare. I think we're going to I don't think there's going to be an option in Canada, actually. It'd be the only way that you can actually lure doctors and nurses to the country. And people will just get sick of dying before they get treatment. Now, of course, that's not everybody, but it's getting worse. And of course, with MAID, medical assistance in dying, of course, with that being expanded to just basically anybody, you're going to hear more stories of people just deciding to die because they can't get healthcare in Canada. What the heck is this? What is going on here? This is crazy. Still haven't tried 1775 coffee? Now's your shot. The 1775 starter kit just dropped only 1,000 units. That's what I call exclusive. You're getting the bold, dark roast that hits harder than a CNN fact check, the smooth, medium roast, and the Vitality Mushroom Coffee for clean energy and laser focus. No crash and no communism. All single origin, small batch, toxin free, and mold free. I hate mold. Plus, you're also getting a gold spoon clip. Because freedom isn't scooped with plastic. Everybody except a commie knows that. A frother strong enough to stir up your coffee and your mother-in-law's political opinions. Yuck, who needs those? And a black 1775 tumbler that says, I don't take life advice or caffeine from a woke sea witch. Or commies. $170 worth of coffee and gear. Yours for, this is hard to believe, only $99. That's actually less than $100. This is for the ones who've been watching 1775 blow up on Rumble, wondering if it's actually worth it. Spoiler, it is. Go to 1775coffee.com. That's 1775coffee.com/studio. You're going to want to remember that studio and grab your starter kit before they're gone. What are we talking about here? We're talking about bold beans, clean fuel, and a morning routine that stands for something, just like Rumble does. Are we talking about free speech? I think we're talking about free speech here. Start your day with coffee that actually backs what you believe, and don't give your money to dirty, filthy commies. Oh, yeah, that was good. That was good. That beats that they, them energy every time. All right. Let's see. Let's see. Izzy says, oh, finally, now this is the energy I needed. Turtle says, nice. I drink mushroom coffee. I've never tried it, actually, and I would like to try it. Let's see. Turtle says, Elon Musk went after the beautiful bill. Let's make every bill be singular, one at a time. Yeah, I think I've actually got that. I think I've got that in here. I think we're getting to that tonight. Musk going after the beautiful bill. But yeah, I'm pretty sure we've got that coming up. Let's see. Rosie says, good growls, great ad read, commie hate, bold, clean, 1776 out of 10. And I think it's an established fact that 1776 is the most out of 10 that you can be. Let's see. Turtle says, I'm going to get some cast brew coffee. Give a go. Raider Streamer says 9.8 out of 10. Acceptable levels of commie hate. Needs more broken Mark statues. Just give it up with the broken Mark statues. Come on. I don't have all these Mark statues lying around that I can just break. Let's see. Nevada says just simply more commie hate. 9.0 out of 10. Still pretty good. All right. Let's move on. What have we got now? So Bethany Frankel, 54, walks the runway in this. Thoughts? So she's 54. There seems to be some sort of controversy because she's 54, but she's doing runway stuff and wearing tiny things. And I don't know. I'm good. I'm good with it. I mean, she looks great. So why not? I mean, I'm not like, I don't want to put a burqa on her, you know? I don't want to wear a niqab. Like I'm fine with this. I am fine with that. With her wearing her bikinis, doing runway shows. I'm good with it. No problems. All right. Tigers are by far the most ferocious and powerful of cats. If you don't believe it, just watch this. This is actually terrifying. Let's take a peek. Oh. Did it get him? That's the question. Did it get him? It looks like it was getting him. Yeah, that's like nightmare fuel. Let's see. Yeah, I think that was real. This is an Uninterrupted minute of Moray, the rescued tiger with his beloved ball. I think we've seen this. I can't play music. Let's take a look. So this one looks nice there, playing with the ball, but probably it would eat you. I mean, it would. If it was hungry and you were around and there was nothing to stop it, it would eat you. I mean, it's built for that. That's its whole thing. And it would probably do this with your head. So it would take your head in the water and then do this with that instead. Because he'd be like, oh, this is a fun ball. All right. Let's keep going. Tourists and guides run for their lives when Mount Etna suddenly erupts. So they're saying run for their lives. They don't look like they're really running that much. I mean, I'd be running way faster than that. That's like a pyroclastic flow, and that you will just like disintegrate you. I mean, that's like super hot in that. All that ash is super, super hot. So I don't know. I mean, it doesn't seem like it's like rushing down. It's just kind of going up. But I know you don't want to get caught in that. I'd be going way faster than these people. I certainly wouldn't be filming it. I would just be running as fast as I could from Death Cloud. Anyway, I'm not going there. Why the hell would I go there? Why the hell would I take my time, my good money, to go to that?
Ellie! Hey, stop the phone!
Do you want to go get burnt to death at a volcano? No, I don't. I'm going to save my money. I'm going to be responsible with my money and not get burned alive by the pyroclastic flow from the volcano that I'm never going to. Absolutely. Absolutely not. Absolutely not. So here's a question. What do you guys do? Plow him over or remain unlawfully detained? What's the law on this? So I guess this guy is blocking a car in the road. Skater thinks he owns the road. So what's going on here?
Like everyone else, you stop! I will break your window. Say cheese! I will break your mirror. I will fuck you up. All you need to do is stop.
It sounds like he's talking to a woman there as well. So he's quite brave, this guy, obviously.
Okay? So you sit here. I know, but I'm the rear guard. Can you call 911? Go ahead. I'm just going to record. I'm not involved.
Yeah, he's talking to a woman. I mean, this is pathetic.
Oh. Well, how do I get your number? Go ahead. So, last year, one of you cunts ran over one of the kids. Yeah? Don't drive in the middle of a fucking road. We own the road now. This is our road now. Stop. You wait for us. You wait for the Palestinians.
He just said you wait for the Palestinians. So I don't know. Are they doing like a Palestinian thing? They're blocking the road for Palestine or something? Probably, I guess. If a jury heard the part of we own the road, him screaming at a woman whose car he's blocking, we own the road now, would a jury convict? If I was on the jury, I would not convict. I would say justified. Justified self-defense. Radio Streamer says foot pedal. You know what? I wonder if there's anything under here that could give us a clue on the correct. There we go. I think this is it right here. There we go. I think that's the correct procedure for when that guy's in front of your car screaming at you, telling you that he owns the road now. So I don't know. I mean, I don't obviously I don't advocate for that, but I just feel like I know what I would want to do, and it would probably feel pretty good. I don't know. Nevada says gun it. Gun it. Turtle says, okay, he did vote for Biden. All right, what else are you guys saying? Let's get back into the chat here. Let's see. Now, I want to say with the they them energy clip, I always give you guys good warning. The minute that I start going on about how I can't find it, where I'm going to find some energy, you know it's coming. So you've got time to mute it. If you don't want to hear the they, them energy, you've got time to mute it. I don't know why I keep doing it. I don't know why I keep playing that horrible clip, but I just find it hilarious now. I can't stop. We're all just going to have to live with it. Radio Streamer says, damn, I love guns. Turtle says, our governor is crap in Washington. Washington is drowning in this. Seattle is just, the mayor of Seattle is just a full-on commie. Antifa commie, it seems like. Let's see. Who hates Christians, it appears. Let's see. Turtle says they are trying to take our gun rights in Washington. Nope. Well, I would think like outside of Seattle, it wouldn't be very popular, would it? Let's see. Izzy says, probably paid good money for that view of Death Cloud. I'm sure they did. Let's see. JDL says, Pompeii again. Yeah, I don't want to go there. No, thanks. Because if you went, I mean, this is what I just think. I know if I went, that's when it's going to be, Pompeii and Herculaneum all over again. I just know it. So no thanks. Let's see. Mickey says, how you doing, Mickey? Oh no, my foot slipped off the clutch. It's that sucks when that happens, especially when some world's greatest asshole is blocking your car and screaming at you and threatening you. Let's see. Rosie says, blah, 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 mute, reclaim my time. Yep. Let's see. Turtles asked, hey, did Greta make landfall? I think they probably just got lost because none of them know how to sail because they're all useless. All right, let's continue on. Here we go. We love some Victor Davis Hanson on this channel. Jobs up, borders closed. Trump's second term is just getting started. So here is Victor Davis Hanson giving the counterpoint to the incessant media narratives. Let's take a look.
We're at 4 months now in the new Trump second administration. And a strange thing has happened. If you look at the polls, Trump in the Real Clear Politics averages, which to be fair have a preponderance of left-wing polls, is still only about a point and a half down. But in other polls, Rasmussen, he's either even or he's a couple of points ahead. And yet all of the media and all of the major organs on the left, but even in the center and right, the Wall Street Journal, they have been uniformly negative. So how in the world is Donald Trump almost equal and much higher than he was at his first term at this time? The answer is twofold. Hello, this is Victor Davis Hanson for the Daily Signal. We're at 4 months now in the new Trump second administration. And a strange thing has happened. If you look at the polls, after diving for Trump with the announcement that he was going to subject certain countries to high tariffs, which panicked the stock market, now the stock market's almost recovered or has recovered all of its loss. It went down a little bit when Trump said he was going to continue the tariffs to force the European Union to have reciprocal treatment toward the United States. But nevertheless, Trump in the Real Clear Politics averages, which to be fair have a preponderance of left-wing polls, is still only about a point and a half down. But in other polls, Rasmussen, he's either even or he's a couple of points ahead. And yet all of the media and all of the major organs on the left, but even in the center and right, the Wall Street Journal, to take another example we've discussed, they have been uniformly negative. So how in the world is...
Well, I mean, even on the right, there's negative coverage. And it's because, establishment right, Trump is disturbing the status quo. I mean, obviously he's disturbing the status quo, right? Like before, everybody agreed everybody has to give everything they have to Ukraine. Tariffs, for instance. Pardon me. The tariffs, this is disturbing the status quo on trade. That makes establishment people very nervous. Let's continue.
Donald Trump, and Donald Trump has not been reticent. He has tweeted all sorts of things about Bruce Springsteen and Taylor Swift and Canada, things that were very controversial. How can he be almost equal and much higher than he was at his first term at this time? And the answer is twofold. Number one is what he's doing. Every time people say we're headed for a recession or his trade war is going to tank the economy, data comes out. This week it was that corporate profits were unusually high, strong. It came out that we're not in a housing recession, that housing sales are steady. Inflation is down. Energy prices are way down. Economic growth is up. Joblessness is down. So that is one reason. The second is Donald Trump has been touring the world, and you can call it mercantilism, but essentially the Trump doctrine is we're not going to get an optional military engagements on the ground anywhere, and we're going to have our relations be transactional. So even our enemies, to the degree it's even possible, we're going to try to find some mechanism by which we can stop wars, maybe rare earth mineral corridor in Ukraine, or maybe we're dangling a end of sanctions for Iran. I don't think that's going to work. But the point is, people appreciate the idea that Trump first is trying to exhaust peaceful avenues before he uses force. And he's trying to address the theater wars that Joe Biden left him in Ukraine and the Middle East. The economy is strong. The border is 99% closed. We've gone from over 150,000 entries down to less than 8,000.
I think it's, if you look at immigration, it's been a top issue for actually decades now. Nobody was willing to deal with it. Trump promised to deal with it, and he has. Right? They have the lowest number of, attempted crossings that they've had in decades. So that's a big thing. That's something people have wanted, and it hasn't been delivered for decades. For decades, he actually is doing it. That's going to make you popular, right? Vocally, saying like, I want peace, not war. That's going to be popular. Peace is always popular. Optional wars are never actually popular. Or they're at least not popular after people have a chance to get, to actually take a look at them and what's happening and what the cost is. And I think the American public has learned a lot about optional wars and decided, yeah, we don't really like those anymore. And wokeness. Wokeness is not popular. What's popular is meritocracy, right? What's popular is actually patriotism. Wokeness is not popular. Western civilization is the greatest sin in, in mankind's history, is not actually popular. So these are fundamental things. And, we talk about how, you've got all this stuff around it, tariffs, all of this around it. But fundamentally, it was a fork in the road. It's which way are you going to go? Are you going to go the way of managed decline, masochism, the founders of your country were evil, and you're evil, and your ancestors were evil, and everything your country has ever done is evil? Or are you going to go the other way, which is doubling down on Western civilization, on your own history, on your own accomplishments, on the good that your country has done, and that the good that your country stands for and has stood for. You know, having a rational, non-ahistorical view of history, a realistic view of history. You could say, hey, you know what? You know what's not normal? Germany, when it was utterly defeated, West Germany was built up. It did a hell of a lot better than East Germany, right? They didn't, enslave the West Germans, right? Or even colonize them. Yes, there's American air bases over there. But Germany just became Germany, became its own thing, right? And after reunification as well. Japan was utterly defeated, unconditional surrender, rebuilt into one of the largest economies in the world. That's not normal for the vanquished to have that fate, right? That's not normal for the victors to rebuild the countries they've just had brutal wars with. That's a different view of American history, America's role in the world, than that's something that the leftists ignore. That's something that, the path of masochism and managed decline and self-hatred, and ultimately just, the road to communism. That's something that's very inconvenient for them. They don't like to talk about those kinds of things, right? They don't like to have any kind of perspective. So Trump offered a different path than what was being offered by the Democrats, by the Joe Bidens, and I would say even really just, previous Republicans. He offered a different path, a hopeful, aspirational path where you don't have to hate yourself. And that's the real importance of Trump. It's a reassertion of Western values, Western civilization. We're not just going to lie down and die. Right. And I hope that this is something that catches on with the rest of the Western world, because the United States certainly is going to need allies. But in any case, let's continue.
In many places, fewer. The wall is going to be continued. The Border Patrol is increased. The deportations, despite the court orders, continue. So the things that he's doing are very popular, especially to the working classes, Black, white, Hispanic. They like cheap gas prices. They like news that there's going to be $8 to $10 trillion of investment and new jobs in assembly manufacturing in the United States. They like the idea that we're cutting unnecessary funds for government and we're not touching Social Security. They like the idea that...
Yeah, it's kind of simple. If your fundamental goals include, if your fundamental goal is to improve the well-being of your own citizens and not, abstract globalist goals, people will like it. People will do things. People will like you and approve of you if you do things that they like. Pretty simple. Pretty simple. And the American people 100% made the right choice. Even if it were just not barreling towards World War III, that would be enough to make it the right choice. So let's take a look at the past, but also a possible future for idiot countries like Canada. Communism makes everything look gross and miserable. Yes, it does. Everything has to be utilitarian, you see, because the message is, it always has to be, you are nothing. You are a faceless cog in the machine. I'm not going to play music. There we go. Soviet modernism, Georgia, Armenia. It's all rather depressing, isn't it? It's really not nice. I don't find it aspirational. See, this is the other path on that fork in the road. This is a possible destination. Yeah, it doesn't look nice. Like, this video should be like in every high school in the Western world. Is this where you want to live? You want to live somewhere like this? Yeah, don't listen to your college professors if you don't want this to be your fate. All right. What do we got next? You really haven't experienced life fully until you've gotten tinsel extensions for your armpit hair. So everybody pay attention. Dr. Jebra Fauci, this is a parody account. Oh, good Lord. People are gross. No music. Come with me to put lash tinsel in my armpit hair. People are just gross now. The culture's just become gross. This is just to say, look at how different I am. I'm aware this is gross, but look how different I am. And there are desperate men who will fuck literally anything. So I'm going to go ahead and do this. And I want to put it on TikTok and get some views, maybe make a few bucks. That's it. Whoa. The glitch should be coming up soon, too. All right. I think she's doing I'm 54. I mean, she looks fantastic. Well, I shouldn't be able to walk down the runway in that. I don't know. I don't get it. All right. I'm all for it. All right. Let's see. All right. Let's do JDL says very foolishly that she wants to go to Canada now. Well, I mean, Canada's still not. I mean, Canada's still a nice country. It's just that it's degrading very quickly. It's falling out of first world status very, very rapidly. And hope that you don't need to go to the emergency room because you're screwed if you do. Let's see. Turtle says heading to Birch Bay in a few weeks, gathering oysters. Well, that'd be nice. Let's see. JDL says no Iran war. Yep, I agree with that. Turtle says no war with Iran. Yep. Turtle also says satanic commies and vampires. They're the same thing. Let's see. Rosie says the powers funded both sides of the war and rebuilding. U.S. sent supplies to Ford in Germany, bombed Ford in Germany, paid to rebuild Ford in Germany, all contracts that benefited themselves. Well, I don't have the details on this, but I could, yeah, I mean, certainly there was trade with Germany before World War II, but they would not have been, nobody would have been allowed to trade with Germany after Germany declared war on the United States. So, yeah, they probably bombed stuff that they sold Germany before the war, but you wouldn't have been able to supply Germany during the war. Let's see. Rosie says Sikalitis. Lots of those. Let's see. All right. And Rosie says that her job situation earlier was about woman dissatisfaction situations. I can't even remember what we were talking about at this point. Let's see. Turtle says, after the war is what I gathered. Yeah, they did. Yeah, I mean, the United States did spend a lot of money to rebuild their enemies after World War II. Yeah. All right. Well, I think that's it. I think my brain is pretty much dead now. All right. I think that's it. I think we're done. All right. So yeah, we got nothing else. I got nothing else. And we're coming up on the glitch. All right, let's try and get this in before the glitch happens. All right, everybody. Thank you very much for showing up. Thank you for the chat. The chat, you guys are half the show now. You guys are the best on the internet. The best. Everybody says so. So thanks you guys so much. It's Tuesday, right? So that means that the next stream is on Friday on Rumble, on YouTube, on X, on Locals. That is a 7:30 Pacific start, 10:30 Eastern start. And we usually go a bit longer. We usually go 3.5 hours, maybe 4 hours or something on a Friday. So hope to see everybody there on the Friday. Everybody have a great week. And yeah, we're done till then. See you guys. See you soon.